I signed for them after the Euros, and after my first day's training, I was driving home. I was actually thinking, regretting it. What have I done? Like I walked into a circus. It's amazing, isn't it?
All right, let's get into it. Is Mo Salah telling us he's not going, or is he telling us that he's actually one of the smartest athletes in the world? He's looked at what's happened. He's decided, I want 100 million. I'm not going to get it from Liverpool. I'm going to get it from somebody else. Mo Salah, commercial genius. Phil, I put it to you.
Well, he said he's staying for next season, and I have felt over the last few months that that's what was going to happen, where he will leave on a free transfer next summer, and Liverpool will have got a hell of a lot out of him, success, you know, in terms of silverware, all the goals that he scored, and then they will look at somebody to replace him with a better age profile. And it kind of looks like they're going down the same route then with Mane. Obviously, Mane wasn't. He didn't answer the question yesterday. Salah kind of was. Salah's been quite honest in the last few weeks. Obviously, the Real Madrid comments came up again when Jordan Henderson was beside him yesterday in the presser about when he was asked after they beat Villarreal, who do you want to play? And he said Real Madrid, where I think the BT team that night were quite surprised that he would actually say that. And
well, because it was unpatriotic. Why didn't you name the English team? What? How can you not name the English team? It's like, well, because, you know, I'm not English.
Is the Salah thing not just a reaction to the over-sanitisation of interviews anyway, and players being unbelievably boring?
Yeah, that's what happens. It catches you off guard.
One thing that's a 2 out of 10 on the Richter scale of interest is all of a sudden a massive earthquake of the storyline.
I suspect the only part about that might not be true is that perhaps Real Madrid have brought it up and they are genuinely using it as some kind of weird fuel. If the lockdown taught us one thing, it's that professional athletes have this weird, hypersensitive streak in them that turns the smallest thing into a massive thing for no reason, because it gives them a tiny edge. Like, their lives are pretty boring. Their lives are like repetitive set of fitness, athletics, tactics, technical stuff. And then all of a sudden, a tiny little bit of something gets introduced into it, and it's like...
Michael Jordan, Last Dance, is your prime example. Just anything you're looking for. Just, you know, somebody didn't hold the door for you. It's like, and I took that personally.
Well, you could say that there's a hypersensitivity around Mo Salah bringing up Real Madrid in the first place, given the man who injured him doesn't even play for the club anymore.
Yeah, but also, given what happened and how that final unfolded after Salah went off and Karius, so Liverpool will be looking forward to it as well. But yeah, it's a very different situation now, because I remember watching that game in 2018, and when Salah went off, there was a feeling that Liverpool are screwed here. Whereas Salah hasn't been playing the last few games. I know he came on against Wolves, but he came off in the FA Cup final, and there wasn't that sense of, well, Liverpool are screwed here, because now they have the cover. And I think I've said it, and I'm sure I will say it for the next few years, that in terms of contracts, the likes of Salah, Mane, whoever it is, the most important contract at Liverpool is Jurgen Klopp. He is signed on the dotted line. So I would trust Jurgen Klopp to get it right, regardless of what happens.
Here's the thing. They're going to have these two players now for one more year, and the two players should absolutely be trying their eye strings out to be as good as they possibly can for that year, because it adds extra millions. Like, literally every extra goal and good performance they put in adds tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands to what they can demand for free to the next club, who are like, oh, we're going to get you at something approximating your peak for 2 or 3 seasons. Like, Mo Salah looks like he can do this, given that his game isn't based on extreme pace. Like, he could easily go on to have a Ronaldo-esque career into his mid to late 30s. That's not, not beyond the possibility.
I think I don't know if Mo Salah is going to emulate what he's done at Liverpool elsewhere. I think the way Liverpool play is perfect for Mo Salah. So I think Mo Salah needs Liverpool, and obviously since he's joined, Liverpool have needed Mo Salah. I think Mane has a bit more versatility. It'll be interesting to see what happens on Saturday. See, he said yesterday, we'll talk about my future after the Champions League final. But if Liverpool lose on Saturday, is he even going to do any press? If they win, he's going to be...
Well, what are we assuming? That he's going to run down his contract and do...
Well, you'd imagine that's what he's going to do, because...
To Liverpool then try and sell him to cash in.
But is he going to move before a World Cup? He's got a World Cup with Senegal in November. Does he want to move and try and feel his way into a new club just before a World Cup? He needs to be at his best going into that World Cup.
Yeah, again, I think from Liverpool's perspective, you're thinking we've got to try and win the league next year to halt City's gallop. Having these two for that season really benefits us, and we'll sign players who we think will be their replacements.
Yeah, absolutely. Sir, Firmino's out of contract as well next summer, so that's your famed front three all out of contract. But now you've got Luis Diaz, and as good as Diaz has been, like he's been like a wild card addition to this Liverpool attack. He wasn't meant to be signed in January. They had to move quickly on him because of Tottenham's interest. So can you imagine what he's going to be like when he gets pre-season with Klopp in terms of an understanding of exactly what they want him to do? It's almost like they've said, go out and do what you're good at doing, and he's been sensational. But imagine what happens when he builds relationships with his teammates in terms of communication. We know that he hasn't got a grasp of the language yet. Like football, obviously, footballers are clever enough to know on the pitch what works and what doesn't.
The language of love.
I think when he starts scoring goals, I think he just goes to an even different level.
Yeah. Okay. So it's not the crisis that it would have been, and
absolutely not.
And so again, just to clarify, Salah said he's going to stay for the season, run his contract down, and we'll see what happens after that. Speculation will be wild for the next 12 months about where he ends up.
Yeah.
The same thing's going to happen with Sadio Mane, in your view, or do Liverpool try and cash in?
I think if they do try and cash in, how much are you going to get for Mane?
55, 65?
Yeah. I mean, do they have? I would have. You'd be very surprised if Mane has made it clear that he wants to leave, then Liverpool are going to have somebody else lined up. But I just think it would be. I don't know. Like I can't see Mane wanting to leave when
say
this
say
World
they're
Cup
like,
is coming
well, you
up.
can't stay. Sorry, you've made it clear that'll be two going for free next year. We need to keep some money going in. What would be an acceptable fee in your mind for Liverpool to receive for him, so that you don't have him next season?
I think anything above 40. Funnily enough, I think if I was a club looking to buy Salah or Mane, I would go for Mane.
He's younger.
He's a little bit younger, but he's also, as I said, he's more versatile. That he started out his Liverpool career on the right, then moved to the left. Now this season, you've seen how good he is through the centre.
Okay.
And so I just think he would give you more versatility if you were a buying club.
Okay. Right. Kylian Mbappe, takeaways.
He's going to be a very rich footballer.
What happens if he turns out to be a great manager as well? Very unlikely, right?
Yeah.
Very unlikely. But what if they get a manager who understands this is the crack with him?
Yeah, look, he's 23. He's signed another 3 years. He has 4 league titles with PSG. He's got the one with Monaco as well. So he's going to win another 3. So is he basically signing this contract to say I have 3 years to win the Champions League, and if I don't win it with PSG in those 3 years, then I'm out of here?
I think that was a big case to be made by Al Khelafi when he was making a case to Mbappe's mom. It was like, he's still young. And I think that was a key component in all of this, that he still got a number of opportunities to do it in Paris. If you're a prospective manager for PSG, or maybe just a prospective manager in general, it's not a great time to just take over PSG, because you've got a guy who you can blame everything on. You can say, well, he was calling the shots. I'm not saying they're going to do this, but if you're a Thierry Henry looking to, reinvigorate a career,
Good
you
shout.
Could absolutely hop on the bandwagon at PSG and
Jesus, someone get on the phone. That's
be like, I'm the Mbappe whisperer.
I haven't seen this anywhere. Is it yours?
It is, right? I just came up with it there.
All right, wow, okay.
If I type in Thierry Henry PSG into Twitter,
It's so ludicrous it might just work.
has anybody else suggested it? But there's no, it's just Thierry Henry headline saying Kylian Mbappe staying at PSG is massive. He has been speaking about the new contract. When you play for a big club, you don't walk away from a big club, he says. So I don't know, I'm not saying it would be a bandwagon for Henry to hop on, but, well, yeah, I mean, nobody's still bitter about that at Arsenal.
I mean, Monaco, obviously not a big club. Juventus, obviously not a big club. Arsenal, obviously not a big club. In fairness, maybe he's right. Maybe the only big club he played for along the way was actually
Barcelona.
Yeah. Or Zidane can do it after the World Cup.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the talk
Do they
coming
just
out of PSG at the moment isn't Zidane. And
keep Pochettino, but then find an excuse to sack him.
yeah,
And then
if you're Mbappe and you're playing in...
they need Zidane not to get the France job, really. That's what the whole World Cup thing is about. They need to make sure that he's not going to... that something else is going to happen.
Yeah, I think I'd be more confident that Zidane would be managing France ahead of PSG.
Right.
But if you're Mbappe, you're going to be playing in the French league for the next few seasons. You're going to walk that every season, and then it's all about the Champions League. And sometimes what happens is, because they have this team of stars, but some would say spoiled stars, that when it comes to the fight in the Champions League, they get done. And that could happen for the next 3 seasons. But it is becoming...
Paddy Andrews says he wouldn't accept that excuse from Kerry. I don't think we can accept that excuse from PSG.
There are no excuses if you're being pumped with the money that they've been
Absolutely,
pumped with.
there should be no excuse.
Themselves, Manchester City and Newcastle United eventually in 3 or 4 years' time, if it takes that long, will have the same lack of excuses. Just on like where PSG might actually go from here. So the incoming director of football, sporting director, whatever, that is Luis Campos, who's Portuguese, and Ruben Amorim of Sporting is a name that's been linked with it. So I'm not sure, is that just a sort of convenience, sort of Portuguese man appoints Portuguese successor, like Le Parisien is the place I'm reading it from, that have linked them as one of the front runners.
That's the name that I've seen linked to the job. And you obviously the Portuguese link, but also you've a really good coach there who, going from Sporting to PSG is a big step, but has he got that profile where he says, yeah, I'd be willing to be part of this, but I know who's the boss around here? And is that a good environment to go into? Well, maybe he thinks that he's not going to get a better opportunity to manage one of...
It's hard to know. Like if for example... Mbappe being the big star means that you get rid of the Neymars of the world who are just there to try and be the big dog, and actually it pares down to only players who want to play with Kylian Mbappe, and those players are all young and hungry and look forward to being led by him. There is a world in which that works. There's loads of worlds. In the vast majority of cases where this happens in football, it hasn't worked. In basketball, it works all the time, where there's one totemic figure who gets everybody together and says, you need to come and play with me, and generally they know exactly what they want. Now, I'm not saying he's a tactical mastermind who's going to be able to set a team up for Catenaccio style 0 all away from home in a Champions League semi-final to see you through, but that's what you bring the manager in for, and you hope that so if they stop signing superstar Galacticos who are past it and stop indulging the Neymars of the world.
Can they stop themselves, though? When they've so much money and they think, yeah, we'll do that. Why not? Let's get Messi in. They obviously have Neymar. Somebody else will come up to think, yeah, wouldn't mind that. Because they like to flex their muscles. They haven't got...
They should sell Messi now. Or let him go this summer. Really.
Yeah. It's I think that Messi as well is probably looking around at the situation, thinking who's the big dog in this dressing room now, and it's
not him anymore.
No, and I don't. Maybe you can make a case that it barely was him when he arrived, despite the fanfare that he arrived to. I'm not sure if I do agree with the fact though that it'll work out one way or the other with this sort of totemic figure trying to build a team around him.
It could be a disaster.
It could be a complete disaster, and it does it work in the NBA? LeBron's Lakers maybe is one example where it did, but I think by and large what we've seen in recent years is some disastrous scenarios where one individual figure tries
Miami.
I guess so, but there's a big three there, but if you look at Golden State, for example, that's very much a team, and it's not based on headlines, it's based on incredibly gifted athletes and a good blend of attack and defence. Like Milwaukee winning last year is a great example, where they have their superstar and then they've got a load of players who are substantially lower profile than him, doing the hard yards. Not that Giannis wasn't doing that himself, but there was just more of a sense to proceedings, whereas the sort of FIFA approach to football teams, it just hasn't worked, I don't think.
No, I just think you just at that final step you just get caught out, because
teams are teams.
Teams are teams, and you all have to be running in the same direction, and that's.
Is there a scenario where Deschamps takes over after the World Cup?
Yeah.
He's never been seen as a particularly brilliant manager, but maybe it's the Ancelotti style manager that they need here. Maybe that's what they need again.
Yeah, they had him.
I know.
Yeah, as I said, it just seems that whoever's there, they just can't get over that final hurdle. Well, they've only been in the final once.
Is the Marseille thing something that will put off PSG fans?
Possibly, and they're not shy, the PSG fans, about voicing their opinion. But
manager as well as player, Marseille, the first club you associate him with.
Yeah, I still think, like, when a push comes to shove, when you get to the latter stages of the Champions League, PSG will still just not be able to get it done.
Okay. Let's very quickly move on. We're way over time. Quick ones on this, right? Will Ten Hag get the band back together? Frankie de Jong move is in doubt. They're looking at, I've seen them linked with two of the Ajax defence and now an attacker as well.
Anthony is the one that they've been linked with in terms of attack, and he's just your modern day winger, right winger, left-footed, cuts inside, but not explosive pace-wise. But Ten Hag didn't have explosive wingers where you don't have to be able to take on players. It's you obviously let the ball do the work. You create overlaps, and that's how you create numbers on overlaps, and that's how you get in behind defences and set up chances. So he is a really good player. He's been linked with a few of the Premier League clubs. Liverpool were mentioned as well. Maybe it was when the speculation about Salah. Newcastle obviously are always going to be linked with players now because they're obviously very rich.
Frankie de Jong, any of that kind of stuff happening? De Ligt? I mean, De Ligt would be good, right?
Yeah, I think Frankie de Jong would be a better signing in terms of they need him more. Because if they get their midfield right, then the defence isn't as exposed. And I think another thing that Ten Hag is going to do is he's going to get them fit. United have not been, like, there's fitness levels and then there's just different levels, which is where the likes of Liverpool and Manchester City are. Even Leeds are obviously the ones that cover the most ground. United haven't been able to consistently do it. Opposition managers have said it. Hasenhüttl said it. Bruno Lage said it. Rangnick obviously said it as well.
Yeah, it's not great. And Declan Rice isn't going to move this summer, is he?
I don't know. I kind of feel he's in that category of England players that's going to get priced out of a move for a while.
So if I was Declan Rice, I'd be running my contract down. I'd
2
be
years.
like making sure. And it's, again, somebody gave him bad advice. If he'd stayed with Ireland, he'd be free now. They wouldn't have given him all those big long-term deals, and
He'd also probably, if he was stay with Ireland, you'd be quoted at 20 million from.
And he'd be getting all the cash.
Yeah.
Phil, good stuff. That's today's Deal or No Deal, but we're back properly.
I signed for them after the Euros, and after my first day's training, I was driving home. I was actually thinking, regretting it. What have I done? Like I walked into a circus. It's amazing, isn't it?